We're fighting a losing battle today with technology.
What happened here? I don't know. We got a double intro, an intro and a half.
Yep.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Friday in the Rev. And I think we're going to start. I don't know if you heard this, CJ. We were talking about something else a few seconds ago. But I was told by someone today that We Suck at Radio gave an update on Will Flanagan that was supposedly, hey Jeff, it was supposedly sent to them by his mother that he is going to have a second surgery, and he is still on the ventilator. So we wish him well. I just wanted to. I don't know if you heard anything about that.
I had heard something along the lines because she was also on Channel 12. And I'm wondering if that's where We Suck at Radio got it, but that's another story. The thing is, I want to make it clear to people, not like I know. I have no idea. I have no professional expertise in this, but people who are on ventilators are heavily sedated. Heavily sedated. They can't text you. They can't talk to you on the phone because if they're on a ventilator, they've got a tube down their throat. Not that I have any knowledge of that.
Well, you're only a PhD in nursing. Right. You wouldn't know anything about that. So I'm sorry. Right. You're trying to just spitball it. That's terrible.
It. You know.
I mean, I don't know, but yeah. But listen, but that's the thing. One of the people who told me that said that they got a text from his mother, not from him. And I don't, like you said. Listen, the whole thing is that, look, nobody knows. I mean, there are HIPAA laws. You can't be giving out a ton of information anyway.
No, you
can't. And look, all we can do is wish the man well. I hope he, it was a horrible situation to be attacked that way from behind. And all you can say about that is let's hope he recovers and gets better quickly. And I mean, to dwell on the media, Channel 10, Channel 12, they're covering, and I even watched the Boston stations. As a matter of fact, I was driving up to BCC with the dog one day, and I saw the day of the arraignment. I saw a Channel 5 news truck from Boston getting on the highway. So they must have just left because Channel 5 did cover the arraignment, as most stations did. So listen, instead of, all we can do is say, listen, watch the news and stuff, and let's just hope he gets better. That's it. I mean, dwelling on trying to see who can update everybody quickly. And this is the problem.
That's what's aggravating me more than anything else. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's that. Oh, he's this. I got it on a first-hand basis. I spoke to him via text. I did this. I did that. Guess what? He was attacked. He was injured. He's undergoing treatment. We know. That's it. Those are the only facts we know. Everything else is hearsay. It's secondhand.
Well, look, and that's the thing. I can't comment. I don't know what his condition is. All I can say is I hope he gets better. And the thing is that it's not up to, this is the problem with the media today. All the media, national media especially, they try to give you the news so quickly that they're always making revisions. Oh, we said there were 2 dead. Unfortunately, there's 6 dead. Oh, we said there were 2 dead, but it's actually only 1 dead. And we did this and we did that because it's like a giant race to see who can get the most information out on the air. And in a situation like this, to me, I don't know. Listen, we know he got attacked. We saw the video numerous times. You see him getting attacked. And right now, he is, as far as I know, he's still in serious condition. Um, there seems to be an opinion that he needs a second surgery. And look, whatever the situation is, let's hope he's getting better.
That's right.
That's all. We're already, days past the attack, and we've got, he's still in serious condition. So that is something that shows the severity of the attack. And let's just everybody give, hope that he is doing better. That's all you can do as people. So you know, this is the problem with the thing. I don't know. I wish, I mean, obviously everybody would like to know um, exactly what the condition is, but then again, there are actual HEPA laws too. I mean, uh, you can't divulge every little specific detail, and hopefully, hopefully at some point in time in the not very near future, he's going to be downgraded from serious. And as you said, you're in that profession. I don't know what the next grade below serious is, but I hope he's no longer in serious condition, So let's hope that they get to that point, and instead of obsessing over exactly what they're doing to him today, let's just say, look, everybody is pulling for you, Will, and we hope you get better.
Yeah, but can you see? I'm not gonna call out any names, but we had people who were making comments that they supposedly got via text or whatever means because they want to be right. They want to be right.
Look, I'm not gonna.
It's not about being right. It's about having some respect.
Well, who knows? Maybe the person who said maybe they are, but the reality is nobody can. That's the whole thing. It's really irrelevant. What's relevant
Right.
is the guy is seriously injured. Let's talk about the fact that he got attacked in Fall River, viciously attacked. And this guy had supposedly, now they said, 19 charges before. And he's out walking the streets.
Of course.
Where is the outrage about this? Where is the outrage that this is the society that we have devolved, not evolved into, devolved? That we have lunatics, not only here, the Ukrainian girl, the immigrant that got stabbed to death on the train in broad daylight and bled to death on the floor. And that could have very well happened to Will, because that's exactly where she got stabbed.
Right.
In the upper torso, except he caught the carotid artery. I mean, she gets stabbed to death by some loony that had, I don't know, I think he had like 34 or 30 some charges against him. These people they're in and out of jail, or they're being charged every other, with all kinds of stuff. And they say, well, they can't put them in jail because they're crazy. Well, I remember years ago they put them in you got to put them in a nut house.
But the Democrats did away with that. They did away with that in the late 1970s, early 1980s. I was working at Taunton State Hospital.
Yeah.
Okay. They said that it was a violation of their civil rights to keep them hospitalized.
Yeah. Well,
but the people on the street don't have any rights.
Well, you're right. They don't. They waive their right when they commit these acts, and that's horseshit. Let me tell you something. Many years ago, when I used to remember the late news they used to have in the evening. There was a news show at like 11:30 at night or something like that. I don't know who it was at the time. Was it Tom Brokaw?
But no, it wasn't Tom Brokaw. I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, we had the late news show.
Yeah.
And one of those shows, they interviewed the ambassador from Indonesia. Because remember when that kid got did something in Indonesia and they were going to cane him.
Yep.
And everybody in the United States they got their panties in a Twitter.
In a bunch, yeah.
Because it was like, oh, they're going to cane him. It's terrible, blah, 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 blah. And they had the ambassador on, and he made a great statement to show difference in perspective. Because he looked at the interviewer and said, listen, he said, here, you're worried about what's going to happen to him, his individual. Oh, you should do this, you should do that. We care about in our country, the right of the society supersedes the right of the individual. No individual can do something that's going to make the society uncomfortable. So this is what, and I hate to say it, but if you pay attention and you know anything about history, this is what the United States said in a preamble to the Constitution. It says that we have a right to domestic tranquility. Nobody's personal right allows them to be turned loose to commit crimes, and that's because of the woke bullshit that we have in this society now, that you're going to hurt this guy's feelings. Now, this guy has committed 19 crimes already. That guy killed another woman on a tape. We see that all the time. What do? The guy that choked out the guy that was threatening people on the subway there, they prosecuted him.
That's right.
For protecting the people on the subway. We are upside down. This society is ass backwards in these blue states.
Well, and the thing is, this guy, like you said, this guy's had 19 appearances in court.
Yeah.
And all being found not guilty by reason of mental defect or in mental incompetence. Once you get that verdict, once you get that classification, everything after that is always the same way. Okay? And that's what happens. So no matter what, they get by. They get through. It happens all the time.
I believe that's I mean, Jeff, at the end, I know you're typing fast, you're like me, but the system failed him. Well, listen, with all due respect to his cousin should have been advocating for him to be committed somewhere about 18 charges ago. You can't let if they're going to be acquitted because they cannot, they have a mental issue and they can't control their behavior. And if they are people who can commit violent acts and have records of violent acts, the society has to be protected from these people. And, he's right away. We've talked about this on our show. We've talked about what happened to mental health in this country. It no longer exists. In San Francisco, they let them all out on the street. Half the people that are there are drug addicted, mental issues, and they let them sit in the street and they give illegals millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm not saying to incarcerate these people, put them in facilities where they can be observed and maybe helped. But to let them turn them back loose on society is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And where's the mayor? I mean, the mayor, very few times do I agree with Paul Coogan, but when he said he shouldn't be on the street, well, it's your party and people like you that allow this stuff to happen.
That's right.
So the other 19 times he didn't do as much damage, so he was allowed to stay there.
As a matter of fact,
did something that's irreversible.
As a matter of fact, he's been sent to Bridgewater State Hospital,
Yeah.
Okay, which is run by the Department of Correction.
Yes.
But is managed by a private outside firm, a private entity. It has limited numbers of beds, and it's short term. It used to be that if you're found not guilty by reason of mental defect or found mental incompetent, you were sent to a mental health facility like Bridgewater State Hospital,
That's right.
like
I
Taunton State
remember.
Hospital for an extended period of time
Yeah.
where you received treatment. And once the doctors had determined that you were no longer a danger to yourself or others, they would consider releasing you. They don't do that anymore. Now they find you not guilty by mental incapacity, and they send you out on the street. No therapy, no nothing.
Yeah.
Unless you
No.
get lucky to get a judge who turns around and says, I'm going to continue this and follow this up every 30 days or 60 days to be sure that treatment is being followed.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's even rare.
I know. Well, I guess it's like in Silence of the Lambs. They incarcerated Hannibal Lecter. I guess today they would have let him out.
Right.
So this is crazy, and it is a get out of jail card in a lot of cases, and but it's a failure of our it's a failure of to me of the society when you allow this stuff, when you allow veterans to be. I think you said the last one was 44, but I know at one time we were averaging 22 suicides a day.
Right.
We've got people with mental issues, not only veterans, but not veterans, but we got San Francisco's loaded with them. The streets are loaded. Every city has got crazy people walking around, and it's not. I believe the way they believe in Indonesia, the society, the safety of the society has to be paramount, and it says it. Like I said, our forefathers said that we are entitled to domestic tranquility. You should be able to walk safe in your streets. Where's our legislature? Where's our, this is the problem. They'll talk about it. He'll say he doesn't belong on a street, but they won't accept the blame that they're the people that got a revolving door. You send them to jail. They're out in 2 days. I mean, the people that burnt the police cruiser down in Boston, the DA in Boston asked for $15,000 and $10,000 bail, and they got 500 and 1,000, and they were fist bumping and laughing on the way out of the courtroom.
That's right.
Well, if they confiscated their car, sent it to a crusher, and then prosecuted them, just like the people that are fighting in Durfee that they cover up. We had the video. They cover it up. What are they doing now in Woonsocket? They're arresting them. They're charging them with disorderly conduct. And the superintendent of schools got right in front of a camera and said, the people are sick and tired of it. The school committee's sick and tired of it. The mayor's sick and tired of it. The people are sick and tired of it. The students are sick and tired of it. We want to have a safe learning environment for our students. Well, time for Fall River to start doing that stuff. Time for Fall River to do something about it. Time for that wasted legislature who will give illegals everything for free. So now they exacerbated the problem because we got cuckoo illegals too. Let alone the criminal drug dealer illegals and stuff like that. But we got rapists and murderers and look, they just got another guy driving a tractor trailer. They said there's 60,000 of them loose. The guy who killed those people that got prosecuted had flunked his CDL test 10 times. And the company who hired him lied about him being able to speak English. So there are people dead. Now they got another one that is the same thing. Can't speak English, caused a accident with a tractor trailer with death resulting. Same thing. Should have never got a CDL license. I mean, they can say all they want. They really care about us, but they don't. They don't. And this is nuts. When people get stabbed on a subway, I mean, and I don't know. Like I said, I'm hoping that Will is gets back and he's 100%. But when you get stabbed in that area, you don't know if he's gonna suffer permanent damage. But they send him to and if the guy is mentally incompetent, unfortunately, according to law, he cannot be held accountable. But they should not allow him. There should be some mechanism like they used to have, like you said. Actually, a good friend of my son's, one of his best friends, he went to high school with. He actually was the head psychologist at Bridgewater years ago. So I'm familiar with Bridgewater. He used to work up there. He was in charge of the whatever, and Bridgewater well too. I mean, obviously. But there was a time when they kept those people long term. But now it's like, kick them back out in the street. Get out of the courtroom. See you later. Go, take off. If he attacks a judge or something like that, they may put him in jail. They may forget about his crazy. But I mean, the system did fail him, but I question the fact that they're now going to use that as an excuse to get out of jail free card, because he's done this 19 times, or 18 times and one more, and 19 times and another time to make 20. And why wasn't his own family trying to put him in a facility? And I know it's difficult. And it's difficult, CJ.
Yeah, you just can't decide to put somebody in a psych facility. You got to go to court. You got to get guardianship. Then once you get guardianship, you got to petition the court for committal. I mean, there's so many hoops to jump through. You get to the point where you just don't care. And you say, the hell with it. Let them handle it.
Yeah. Well, it's terrible. Will is in the hospital because of this. He should not be there.
We just talked about that, Stevie.
Just talked about it.
You joined us late or you weren't paying attention?
Nah, I think he must have joined us late. He normally pays attention. Yeah, he's the second one. But they said now the estimate is there are 60,000 illegal and unqualified drivers driving rigs. That's 60,000 jobs for Americans. And the thing is that there were two death resulting accidents by people from India who could not speak English. And the other guy, the first guy that brought this to light nationally, now it's come to light that he had flunked his CDL test 10 times. Yet they issued him a CDL where? In Gavin Newsom's California, and Washington State, who I just saw a thing on one of the national TV stations. A college professor ratted him out that when you apply to teach at that college, you have to sign a commitment to DEI, even though right now they're saying you can't do that. You have to sign a commitment, and also in your resume, before they look at the rest of your resume, you have to show what you've already done to promote DEI. And when you get to school, you're going to be a big DEI guy, not merit, DEI. So this is the whole problem with the country. You've got states literally applying their political agenda, and people are dying. Gavin Newsom and the politicians in California should be held liable for these things. They circumvent the law. And of course, like Newsom always does, he tried to spin his way out of it. Well, he got approval by the federal government. No, he got approval from the federal government to work. There are specific guidelines to get a CDL license. And one of them is to speak English. And if that's granted, if that's not granted by the feds, because obviously he did not have a federal, that shows what a bullshit a Newsom is. He doesn't have a federal license. He has a license, CDL operator's license from Washington State and California. So what we can only hope for is that we have a massive earthquake and the entire West Coast and at the San Andreas Fault falls into the ocean and Las Vegas becomes beachfront property. Because that entire side of the country is useless. Oh, what about the Channel 10 debate?
It's going to air on, well, it's going to air at 5:30 tomorrow morning, or
Yeah,
6,
yeah.
5:30 tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I'm going to tape it. I'm not getting up at 5:30. I'm sorry. I get up early enough, but 5:30 is a little early. If I am up at 5:30, what I normally do is go, oh, yeah, no, close my eyes and roll over. No, yeah, you're right, Gene. Yeah, you're right. They're not supposed to have them. But this is what these people do. They ignore the law.
But in California, they got them.
They ignore, and in Washington State, they got them. And in all these, they ignore, just like the law with illegals. They're protecting illegals. They're creating zones to protect illegals, and they're fighting against federal agents who are enforcing law. They want them murdered and killed, and it's bad. It's crazy. But let's shift gears to the local stuff of fact that I think there's some things brewing in the political races. I haven't heard much again from the councilors.
Yeah, the councilors are interesting because in their last forum, they indicated that there's a turf war over the waterfront. You got some of the city councilors want to maintain control in the city council. You have other city councilors that want to give control to the redevelopment authority. In other words, to Ken Fiola. And it's creating a problem. You have some city councilors that want the state to manage the whole thing.
Yeah, well, that's another mess.
That's another mess.
And thank you, Justin, for telling me it was on YouTube. I'll try to. I do go on YouTube. I don't do Facebook, but I spend a lot of time on YouTube. So thanks a lot. That way I don't have to wait till 5:30 in the morning. I can get it from. I'll take a gander at it at YouTube. Okay. Yeah. Again, the whole thing about Coogan and his whole thing is, listen, this is a typical. CJ and I were talking about this before the show. This is a typical political tactic, especially with somebody with no record or a horrible record like Paul, whose record is abysmal. They want to shift the thing away from talking about what's wrong with the city, what he did wrong, what a mess it is, that he hasn't done anything about anything, that our budget has nearly doubled, and all the other things. And he's become very, very adept at that. Thanks, Justin. But wasn't there already a memorandum of understanding that who would oversee the waterfront property development of 79? Yeah, but I don't know, Gene, about there was supposedly a memorandum of understanding, but there's been a lot of questions about all these memorandums that are talked about and supposedly replaced. And I think there was a memorandum of understanding about what they were going to do about the land on Rodman Street. Remember? They were going to turn it into veterans housing. And when that came up, there was a big story about, no, we're going to change it. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You need somebody that's, you'd have to look at that agreement and see if it's ironclad. But the problem is, listen, they've been coveting that waterfront since they built Point Gloria, which was decades ago. Okay, they have wanted to control the powers to be in this city, have wanted to control that strip of land almost as long
As they've been talking about it.
as you know, they've been arguing over the Gaza Strip.
See, here's the thing. If a memorandum of understanding did exist, the secretary of DOT at the city council meeting, what was that, a month and a half ago?
Yeah.
Said very clearly that there's legislation pending in the State House to say who controls the land.
Yeah, and I guess
no determination has been rendered on who controls the land at this point in time.
And guess who's pushing the legislation?
Carol Fiola.
So guess what the decision's going to be on the legislation?
Well, you never know. But
I'm going to take a wild guess and say that memorandum of understanding doesn't give jurisdiction to Paul Coogan and Kenny.
That's right.
So this is the thing. And this is the problem. Some memorandums of understanding, if they're written well enough, can supersede a change in the law.
That's right. If they're written well enough. And
if
Justin,
well
I already know where it's located. Thank you.
Yeah, Kenny. Yeah. Kenny needs some more money. Yeah, Gene, he does. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're building a house over in Italy. I know they went to Italy. Some of the big hitting crew there. So maybe he's got a house over in Tuscan or something like that, or maybe down in Sicily. No, he wouldn't be in Sicily. They'd murder him over there. That's what a mafia is. But yeah. So there was some issues, CJ. There was some talk about something in the mayoral debate. There was some fireworks at the mayor.
Well, if you remember correctly, when I was being obliterated by so many people in regards to the Boomer campaign, I said back then that his treasurer, Goretti Medeiros, was not certified. Because back then, she wasn't. It came up during the debate that she wasn't certified. Where, according to the records, she became certified just prior to the debate. So, for the majority of the campaign, there was no certified treasurer. That treasurer was only certified recently. That doesn't mean he can't receive funds. Again, the law is very weak. Okay? The law is very weak. He can still receive funds. But the reporting, he's not going to be able to use the same reporting he used last time, where he said his treasurer was overwhelmed and not certified. And that's what happens.
Yeah, well, you're right, Gene, but he's good at deflecting things. And listen, she wasn't certified, but CJ did, I know they jumped on you, but you do know about OCPF because you had your own campaigns and you know the thing. You gave them information about that stuff. Yeah, you're right. You should have had your campaign thing. And I've always said, and I defer to you on OCPF, but I knew one thing when I ran a union, I let the treasurer handle all the money because I've seen more people go down because they don't handle money properly. A good friend of mine that was a president of another local went down because he was handling money and he gave somebody a loan in good faith. He was a member and the guy needed a little bit of money, but he took it out of union funds and people that didn't like him said, yo, you can't do that. And they were right. And he had to step down. So money, it's very, very important. But what's Coogan's point? Does Coogan worry that much about whether the people that we have working for us are certified and competent to handle our finances, which are in the hundreds of millions of dollars? No. It's an attack saying that, look, you're not that competent. Well, Paul Coogan doesn't run his campaign. He's got a lot of dyed-in-the-wool long-term politicians that will make sure every I is dotted and every T is crossed when it comes to his campaign finances, and they'll rectify it immediately if there isn't.
But Paul had a problem. Paul
did have a problem. Because
Paul is
everybody
getting
at
a
some
donation
point in
from
time
a
can have a problem.
corporation, which
Yeah.
is a normal occurrence in a campaign.
Right.
And when they find it, they usually refund the money immediately. And that's what happened here with Paul. Once they
Right.
find
And
it,
I can
they
tell
refunded
you,
the money.
but I find the irony in this thing that he's attacking him because he's not, and justifiably so. If he didn't do it the correct way, he has to be held accountable.
The mayoral and city councilors do. The school committee answers to the city clerk.
Yeah. So
they should have a treasurer who's aware of the law, but they don't have to be certified for the school committee.
So, but that's Paul's, attack the OCPF and stuff. Let's keep everything, and he's being very successful. We are now very close to the end of October. We're getting very close to the election, and as soon as anything goes to his record as to what he's doing and what he has done as mayor, and he immediately will do things like that. Like you said, Dean, he will jump on that, keep going back to that, talk about, oh, people are exaggerating. Well, they're not exaggerating. I mean, listen, you sound like pork chop Pritza, talking about Chicago's safe. Listen, Chicago hasn't been safe in a zillion years. It's always been south side of. They made a song about that. I know you guys probably never heard of Jim Croce, one of the greatest folk singers in the world. He wrote "Don't Mess Around with Jim," and he wrote "Bad Leroy Brown," the baddest man in the whole damn town. And on the south side of Chicago, which is the baddest part of town, and that thing was written in the 60s or 70s, and they talked about Chicago. Chicago's a war zone. There were 4,000 people killed in Illinois, I think, last year. Pritzker pretends it's safe. He's got state police walking around with him. He's walking down near the canals in Chicago, and he's like, "Oh, look, it's safe. I'm here in the morning." Yeah, you got all kinds of security suite. Try to go down on the south side of Chicago. The people of Chicago want it to be safe, but these people ignore it. That's like Coogan. One thing that Democrats are great at is ignoring reality. Listen, shut up, Josh. You only had a bullet in your house. Nobody else had a bullet, and you only had one bullet anyway. It's only one bullet hole. What are you complaining about? Well, we only had a couple of stabbings. Well, granted, you can never stop crime, but you can show a commitment to crime. Remember a long time ago, ironically enough, we got two people that were mayors. Remember when Will Flanagan called in District Attorney Sam Sutter, and they talked to the people about what they were going to do about crime in the city of Fall River?
Yes, I do.
So they could feel a little bit safer and better that they were actually paying attention. 6 years, all kinds of shots fired, murders, stabbings. Paul Coogan hadn't said a freaking word. Not one word about safety in this city.
As a matter of fact, now that you brought that up, there is a question on the reporting that the Fall River Police Department's doing on crime, because a website which lists crime statistics for communities lists Fall River as one of the most dangerous cities. Okay, but the city police department says, we're not doing it. As a matter of fact, they didn't even post their reports properly. They posted it under policy and procedures instead of under crime stats to hide the information, I guess. I don't know. Oversight? Who knows?
Well, look, we all know this is what these blue states do. They ignore it or they lie about it. New York City, we all know that came out. New York City, who we know. Yeah, meeting in a junkyard dog. That's right. Don't spit into the wind. You don't pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger, and you don't mess around with Jim. Yeah, uh, that was one of my favorite songs. I used to skip rope to that because if you look up that song on YouTube, it's exactly 3 minutes, sometimes 3 minutes and 1 second. So if you're doing rounds on a bag or skipping rope, listen to that song. Don't mess around with Jim by Jim Croce because it's exactly 3 minutes long. So I know that song very, very well. And but the thing is, they ignore stats, or they don't pay attention to them. They change the rules. New York City is always been obviously had a lot of crime. It's a huge city. It's the largest city in the country. So okay, but they changed their policy. What did they say? Not going to report it as a shooting unless somebody gets hit. Really? So some idiot goes like this with the gun, doesn't use the sights, and squeezes off a clip and doesn't hit anybody, hits 6 cars, 17 houses with an extended magazine. And who appears from the genie bottle? Paul Coogan. And he tells the New York City police, it's not a shooting. Nobody got hit. And they don't log it as a shooting. They had specific examples where they downgraded shootings to misdemeanors. So you can't trust the crime statistics because you know what they say about numbers. Numbers don't lie, but liars can figure. And crime statistics now are being manipulated in all these cities because they don't want to admit the reality. And Paul ducks everything. And it's up to the people to hold him accountable. He can try to duck his record all he wants, but when you when you get your rent and you get your tax bills and you get your water bill, you know what he's done to this city in 6 years. I've got the stats. I mean, I had how much our taxes have increased since he's been in office. A lot more than 2%. Up to one year was over 14. But you can't hide from reality, and that's what they do. They create this alternate universe where everything's fine. Don't talk about it. But there are certain things that a government is supposed to do for its people. Do you notice when there's a catastrophic event on a federal level, the first thing they do is have a press conference? Sometimes they don't give you a lot of information. Sometimes they just say, well, we really don't know what with this, but we're checking on this, and we got this agency and that agency, and everybody's there. Yeah, right, Fatima. He's just a vice principal. That's right, AKA hall monitor. There you go. But they do that because they want the public to know two things. Number one, that they're working on it, and make them feel a little bit safer because they're on it. Yeah, well, it's tough. No, you're right. Listen, being a police officer is a very, very difficult job because you will be called on at maybe in some point in your career, maybe if you work if you work with Bonnie Fife over there with Andy Griffith in Mayberry, you may never have to get that decision. But if you work in any kind of city, you're going to be put in a position where make a life or death decision, and it's hard for anybody, for any person at any age. But it's tough, and policing is getting more difficult and more difficult every day because of the rhetoric of some people. And I don't care now that they've kind of toned it down in some states, but some states are still that underlying thing about defund the police, send social workers to domestics and stuff like that. And how many murders have we seen at domestics and stuff like that because they escalate? But it's hard. You're carrying a gun, and you're going to be, at some point in time in your career, you may have to unholster that thing, and you're going to be put in a position where you're going to have to possibly make that decision. And it's, that's why I have the utmost respect for them, because, um, I couldn't do that. I mean, I would not, I would not hesitate, and it would be, I probably, because, you have to be able to, I don't have the mental wiring to do that. Somebody does something that I think is really, really bad. I might not be able to restrain myself. And I know that. One of the things about people is you should always know your own limitations. Yeah, yeah. I
That's
know
why
my
you were a fireman.
That's right. I was number one on a police list. A lot of people don't know that. But if you look it up, when I got on the fire department, I was number one on a police list, and I was number one on the fire department list. And they actually called me, and I said, you got three refusals, but I knew I was getting a job on the fire department because I was number one on the list, and within a month or two, and I said, no, I'm gonna go on a fire department. And a couple of people I knew got on the police department, and they said, why didn't you get on? I said, well, you guys can, I know my temperament. My temperament is, I could never do your job. I mean, I would, if I went to a call where somebody beat up a woman or abused an animal or something like that, I would probably take out my nightstick and then beat him to death right in his living room. And it's like, I can't do that. I'm sorry. I'm not wired that way. I would lose it. I would completely lose it. But seeing what they see, I'll go into a fire anytime. But let me go to see some of these things, and I experienced a few of these things on the fire department, and it was hard enough for me to restrain myself then, even as a chief officer. But I remember responding to a call uh, when an infant was sexually abused by somebody's boyfriend, and one of the units that was under my command, uh, they had an issue down there, and I had to respond. And it was horrible. It was terrible. What that individual had done to that child was. I mean, if I would have, good thing the police had already locked them up, because I don't know if I could have restrained myself. I mean, I'm just not. That's just the way I am. I can't do it.
Fire hose around the neck, turn it on.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, and that's why I'd say, police have nothing but respect for me. How they can do that job every single day, and have people not respect the fact that they're putting their life on the line, but to spit on them and do things like that, and it's crazy. They first respond to initial report. Wow. Okay. Again, but don't worry about it, Nelson. Paul says it's safe.
We live in a safe city.
We're living in a safe. Paul. That's Paul's deflection. Don't worry about it, everybody. This is a safe city.
Right?
I mean, listen. I'm not going to be Pollyannish and say, you will always, you can eliminate crime, but I can say with a safe amount of certainty, being someone who traveled, you know, outside this country a lot and went to countries where there is severe, and I mean severe, punishments for criminals. Crime rate's always lower in those countries. It's not about rehabilitation over there. It's about punishing criminals and making it a very, very distasteful prospect to be put in jail in those countries. People do not want to go to jail in those countries. And this country, it's like let them out on the street, and this is the problem. And so we had another stabbing. I mean, this is like it's almost like mob mentality. You read about a stabbing, and then some lunatic somewhere does it. You see something on TV, then you get a copycat. I mean, I'm not sure about the mental ability of half the people in the country anymore, because these are the people that are making fun of somebody getting shot, a young man with two young little children, and you got a school teacher going, And then the school defends her. Really? This should be teaching children? You got a guy with an infant and like a 1-year-old, and you're running around going, you know, it's like Governor Pork Chop. You got too much of that pork chop gristle in your brain. And this is what people are doing. They're encouraging killing ICE agents. They're driving cars into their thing. I mean, and there's no repercussions in these states. They're actually protecting these people. In Portland, yeah, you're right, Alphonse. Criminals go after the weak. And you know, in Portland, they were hiding behind the Portland police. They were shining lights and throwing stuff at ICE agents on a roof, and the ICE agents, when they came down to try to get them, they ran behind the Portland police, and the Portland police didn't do anything. And when the ICE agent came down and said, "What are you doing? They're standing right behind you. Arrest them." No, we don't know why they're standing behind you. They're on strict orders from their mayor. Do not cooperate at all with federal agents trying to enforce the law. Every one of those, that mayor, that entire state should be just, I mean, they talk about Trump. They're lucky I'm not I wouldn't give him a penny. I wouldn't give him a penny for anything in that state and California, because they're crazy. You can't do that stuff. You can't be an elected official who is sworn by the Constitution to give us law and order, domestic tranquility, and then you're gonna allow law enforcement agents to be attacked, and actually not only allow it, encourage it, incite it. These people are, as far as I'm concerned, they should just, Trump should just say, all right, the state's no longer in the United States. You have just voluntarily seceded from the United States. You're on your own. Pay your own bills. See how long you last. See how long they last. Yeah. It's illegal for the police to help other law enforcement agencies. I mean, number one, that's not even legal, that bill, because there is a supremacy clause in the Constitution. Federal law trumps state law. And if a federal agent is executing a federal arrest, they don't have they don't have to help them, but they have to allow them to execute the order. And if they don't help them, I don't know how a police officer, there's supposed to be a brotherhood there, would allow another brother law enforcement officer to be attacked and not come to their aid. They should be ashamed of themselves, those police officers. The job's not worth it. They're hiring police all over the country. I don't know how any police officer in Portland, Oregon can stand on a street and watch people ram into the vehicles of other law enforcement officers and let them hide behind them. They dishonor the badge they wear.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Newsom would sign something like that. Not unheard of, not unexpected, but just stupid. And okay, fine. Let me put it to you this way. California highway patrol officer stopping a vehicle, 2 illegals, armed. They put 2 bullets in those highway patrol officers. They're on the highway, flat on their back. 2 ICE officers come along and say, F you, we're not doing anything, you don't help us. Not going to happen. You and I know that. The ICE officers are going to help.
That's right. Yeah, you're right, Annalise. It's lawlessness. That's what we have. They condone lawlessness. They not condone it. They encourage it.
They do.
They say, go out and protest. But, okay, protest, run your car into them. You even have elected officials, congressmen, assaulting ICE officers. It's great. Then they say, oh, they're masked. They're masked. Well, have you ever seen pictures of Mexican law enforcement? They always got masks because if the cartel knew who they were, they'd kill them and their entire family.
That's right.
They're doing that for their own protection. And then what do? They encourage doxing them. Go tell everybody where they live, where their families are, so you can go out and murder their families. And we got a lot of people. Look, it's a horrible thing to say, but maybe when we were growing up, we didn't have as many crazies, or at least they were hiding. Somebody locked them in a basement. But right now, it seems like half the country, they're all mental defectives.
Yeah.
They have no, they're all antisocial, and they think this is a video game. They can go kill anybody they want that they disagree with. What's this? Yeah. What's this, Stevie? The largest teachers union sends 3 million that completely erases Israel. Yeah, isn't that what's her name? That political kiss ass that's always somewhere near a protest microphone. What the hell? What's her name? I can see her in front of me, but I have a mental block because I hate her so much. It's like I can't even say her name, but it'll come to me maybe. But it's irrelevant. But this is the thing: erase Israel. Well, that's what they want to do anyway. They want to eliminate an entire. Well, they tried it. Hitler. Yeah, isn't that ironic though? Think about that, Steve. They accuse everybody who's a conservative or an independent that doesn't feel that way of being a Nazi. Yet, what are they telling you to do? Exactly the same thing as Hitler did or tried to do. Erase Jews from the world.
That's right.
But it's the people who believe in law and order that are the people that are the Nazis. We're the fascists. They're the good people. But those are the good people that say, if you're not with us, we can kill you. But you can't kill us. As a matter of fact, if you call me the wrong pronoun and we were in power, we'd throw your ass in jail.
That's right.
For using the wrong pronoun. You are guilty, CJ, of using the wrong pronoun. You will serve 6 years at a federal prison or a state prison for using the wrong pronoun to a snowflake.
I personally could care less about DEI initiatives. I think they're ridiculous. I think people should be hired for their job based on their qualifications, not on the color of their skin, not on who they sleep with. None of that. I think they should be hired based upon their qualifications. But the Democrats don't want that because they won't be able to cater to their base. And that's what happens.
You know what DEI stands for, right? Didn't earn it.
That's it. That's for sure. Hey, I want to thank you all for watching. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. And get those mail-in ballots mailed in already. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.